in it, he has, in his vision of a digital single market, he has always included some language to the effect of calling for a reform of the copyright regime. What that will amount to in practice, we learned, or might amount to in practice, we learned a little more about in the document published on May the 15th, which spoke of 5 specific areas where reform could be attempted. These include things like cross-border use of content. It includes clarifying the role of intermediaries. And so when you unpick that language, what you see or you can perceive boiling beneath it are the big headline clashes of interest, which I mentioned in the previous slide. So there's the reference decoded is to, are we going to get even more aggressive in Europe with Google and the other American internet platform companies? And if so, how? The European Parliament now having voted through a very aggressive but not legally meaningful point of view on that. So this is the last illustration, and it raises, it seeks to describe in very, very simple terms the landscape of the next period of debate. The slightly sardonic note in parenthesis there, of course, reflects how long it took to establish the unitary patent system in Europe from its original proposition. It did indeed take half a century. So one thing that goes without saying is that if Europe chooses to take a very long time about this, it may as well do nothing, because the digital economy revolution will have passed it by. So what that little map there is intended to say is that, yes, on left and right, we have tension between current business models and what consumers, increasingly consumers as do-it-yourself makers of things as well, how that bears upon the classic definition of the rights holder's interest in the circle. My own view is that the tension with creators is not significant. The massive tension is between the left and the right there. But those tensions kind of trade off with each other. The consumer noise about this, although it has had its high points, as in the Stop Actor campaign, is not persistent and always there. For consumers, copyright is an issue which they think about a very little bit of the time, whereas for those whose businesses depend upon it, they obviously think about it all the time and should do so, need to do so, and are right to do so. So what's the other force in play here that might determine how that thing settles down? Well, it is obviously the economy and innovation, and the risk that Europe's approach to this will prove to be insufficiently thought through and effective to do something about, or to play its part in doing something about, a productivity crisis which has had productivity growth in Europe stagnant for a decade. It's stagnant in the UK as well, by the way. This is not, it's different in different countries. I think that this will be determined on the basis of the extent to which those economic arguments are privileged by the politicians, by the Commission, and by the other players in what is a very intense and high-stakes game. Thank you.